Okay, I'm just waiting notification. Okay, and just like that, and boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an incredible guest with us, one who is going to give us some information as well as some inspiration, and that is none other than the boxing agent, and just so much more. We're going to get to learn more about him. Brother Murid Muhammad, first of all, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, sir. This means a lot to us that you would take time out of your busy schedule to come on the People's Podcast, sir.
Yes, sir. It's my honor and pleasure.
Okay, excellent. Yes, sir. The first thing that I would like to know is, how did you get into the boxing business?
Well, that's a real long story. We'll see if we can shorten that up. It started with me being a boxer myself as an amateur, and I started my career in the United States Marine Corps, and then moved into St. Louis area where I started my amateur boxing career. And anybody who knows boxing knows the history in boxing in St. Louis and the Midwest itself. If you look at the history, more champions have come out of the Midwest, and then St. Louis being number one. So when I walked in the gym, you had to know how to fight just to be in the gym, you know. So from there, I was blessed to be around a lot of champions and learn a lot. And I ended up moving to Wisconsin, where I wanted to go ahead and turn pro. And in turning pro, you know, I found out a lot of things that were happening to boxers that was not good, that I didn't stand for, especially being a FOI. I wasn't going to fall for certain things, but I didn't like seeing my brothers be having to go through those things. So it ended up, after I stopped boxing and said, I'm not going to deal with this, I know better, I'm a smarter black man than this. I was in school in college and decided to go back to the gym just to stay in shape. I said, I got to stay in shape, you know, and this is how I know to do it. And from that, many young men start coming to me for advice, asking me to help train them on different skills. And, you know, brother, I tried to run from it, to be honest with you. And my wife is the one that told me, she said, what would Allah think if you turned your back on these young men? You know? And that's how Supreme Hits really started. And she let me know that, you know, that wouldn't be honorable to turn your back on those in need. That's not what an FOI does. And that's how Supreme Hits started, brother.
Okay, excellent. Yes, sir. And both of my sisters, Miriam and Naima, both send the greetings to you, sir. How can thank y'all for, and thank everybody for watching. How when you say Supreme Hits, what exactly does that represent, and what do you all do?
Well, Supreme Hit, you know, it started, it's a beautiful thing, the way the seed was planted. But then Brother Charles, who's out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was the captain at the time. We took a trip to headquarters, and we sat down with a Grandmaster and the Assistant Supreme, and we told him my vision, you know. And through that vision actually was to, why don't we look to build a team that could one day be represented in the Olympics and the nation's flag is raised. You know, that's how it started off, you know. And Assistant Supreme gave us his blessings, and Supreme gave us his blessings. And from there, brother, that's all I needed. I went running. It didn't need to stop. I went running. And through that, I was able to give the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and implant in them the same thing that was implanted in Muhammad Ali, you know. And in doing that, they just start taking on the scene, wiping out everybody. We said, look, we're not just staying here. We went to Detroit, we went to Colorado, you name it. We went to show that Supreme Hits is what it is. You know, we understand the name Supreme, and we understand the name Hits, and we put all that together and we took that in the ring. So not only learning the lesson, we started applying the lessons, you know. So, and that's how it came, Supreme Hits. And our motto is making champions in and out of the ring. And we stand by that motto.
Okay, excellent. Yes, sir. And shout out to Brother Captain Charles out of Milwaukee,
Yes,
who
sir.
I'm familiar
Hey,
with. He's a very good brother, very kind to
yes.
me and my family. Always showed me nothing but love. And yes, sir. My next thing I wanted to ask you was, who's your main boxer that you're promoting right now?
The main one that we're behind right now, his name is Dorn Root, Brother Dorn. You know, he's been in the final call about, I believe, 4 or 5 times. Did some wonderful things. He's actually of the Hmong descent, Asian descent of Hmong, and he's actually the first Hmong champion in the history of boxing. You
Hmm.
know, so he will be fighting coming up here March 13th. We'll be in at the Big Punch Arena in Tijuana, Mexico. And he has moved. He started his career very beautiful young man. If you ever learn, that Asian loyalty, culture.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful young man, beautiful family. They actually had a ceremony and brought me into the Hmong people and made me a part of the clan, is what they call it, and made me his spiritual father. So he's actually my son that
Mm.
I'm speaking to, because the Hmong had a ceremony and made me a part of them and made me his father. Something that is extremely rare. So I take that as an honor, and they love seeing him. His mother once told me, she said, I tried my best to get him in a suit from the day every sense I could think of. And she said, now you have him in a suit, a bow tie, a straight tie, and he's such a young gentleman. I said, well, all praise is due to Allah, and we get that from our teacher, you know.
Yes,
And
sir.
she is such an honor. And because of that, we've gained so many fans, not only in the Asian community, but he's been represented to show the family, who the original family is, the teachings, and taking it with him everywhere. So I'm so thankful that he's our top one right now, and I say right now because one day he will retire and he will sit in the seat next to me.
Yes, sir. And who is he fighting against?
He's fighting a young man. His name is Jose Luis Zenito. This is Dorn's first fight coming back. It's been, I believe, a year and a half. His last fight, he actually lost, and a lot of people don't know. Let me give you a little information on his last 2 losses. A lot of people don't know. His last loss was in Mexico, and the one before that was on ESPN. But on that fight in ESPN, he only trained for 1 week,
Mm.
and a lot of people, a lot of times that's what happens in the business. They want to give a guy, 1 week so their guy can beat him. So they thought they were going to knock Brother Dorn out. But the Brother Dorn went the distance and hurt the young man on 1 week of training and showed that who he was. But also, what a lot of people don't know is that he was coming off a serious injury. He was supposed to fight Shakur Stevenson the fight before that, and he got injured in training camp with a detached retina,
Mm.
eye. So he was literally blind for a while, and he went through surgery, and so he wasn't mentally there going into that fight, because he had in the back of his mind, what if I get hit again and get hurt? But being the warrior he is, he took the fight anyway, even on 1 week's notice, and showed the world, look, I'm still who I am. So he's coming back now after a year and a half off. He's healed up. He spiritually right. He's physically right. He knows Allah has him, and he's going. He said, "Look, I'm going to come and make a statement." So I'm looking forward to this Saturday, brother.
Yes, sir. So as are we. How can the viewing audience? How can we tune in? Like, where will we watch it at?
Well, with this promoter, I believe he's going to be doing it on Facebook Live. If you go on my page on Murid Muhammad on Facebook, I will post up a flyer that shows how you can view Brother Dorn's fight this Saturday.
Okay, great. Yes, sir. And we want to make sure that we support him. What has been your greatest trial in the fight game, as they refer to it, and how have you overcome that trial?
Well, I'll tell you what, brother, if anybody who knows the fight game, the entertainment business, period, we know there's certain individuals that control this business, and there's so much they ask you to do. So my biggest, I don't even look at it as a trial. I just look at it as another fight that I've been prepared for, and I've been prepared because I've been in these teachings and studying and applying. But we have those that want us to bend to their will, and I refuse to do that. I met with someone, and we're not going to call names and point fingers, but certain individuals sat with me at a dinner table with Brother Dorn and a few other FOI who was sitting with me, and they have a lot of power, let's say. And they said to me, brother, we have been involved and studied a lot of Muslims, and he said to me exact words, and they've all had their vices. It's exactly what he said to me. And he said, but you're different. I said, I know I'm different. I said, you know who I roll with, And he said, yeah, we know. He said, that's why we're talking. And the conversation kept going and different things were said, but they realized that at that moment, oh, this one is different. He's standing right with the minister. He ain't playing. So I don't look at them as trials, but they have tried to make sure they block us out. Don't get me wrong. But some have looked at us as we don't want nothing to do with them, and some have said, well, we better do something with them, or they gonna close us out. And that's what we're dealing with today.
Okay, excellent. Yes, sir. What has been your greatest joy in the fight game?
In the fight game, I think my greatest joy, brother, that almost brought me to tears was two of our top fighters winning championships and watching their family and their reaction. I'm stepping back, letting them enjoy the moment. And I'm, as a FY, my eyes are always scanning the area, seeing what's going on, even though I'm right there in the ring. And watching Brother Dorn's mother in tears, and the pride she has in seeing her son accomplish something, watching one of the other brothers, his family, where he came from in the streets of Milwaukee, and now he's cleaned himself up and doing well. That's probably my greatest joy, not being on TV, not having the world champions, but watching these young men's family being so proud of them.
Yes, sir. Beautiful. And what advice would you give for any aspiring person going into, whether he's a fighter or on a business side? What advice would you give to them?
I would say dedication, one, and the most important thing of anything, keeping God first. Keeping God first, no matter what. One thing I always say to my team, to our executive team, I say to any athlete, do right and the money will come. Do right, the money will come. Just make sure we do right.
That's beautiful, sir. Yes, sir. And what was it like for you to introduce one of your fighters, to the Most Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan? And what did he tell you when you met with him?
Yes, sir. Well, we met with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan a few times. And the first time, brother, I was awestruck. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had such a love for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that I've met many celebrities in my life. I've sat with many celebrities, but this was different. This was different. This was like sitting with an angel, brother. And to be honest, for months, I didn't have the proper words to describe that meeting. They just wouldn't come out. And I asked some of the fighters, how would you describe it? And they felt like I did. I can't come up with the words, But the minister, being so pleased, the one thing he said to me that stood out more than anything in our first meeting, he told me, thank you. And that almost buckled my knees, brother, And when he told me, thank you, all I could do was say, no, sir, I have to thank you, but he told me, thank you for making them brothers, and that was powerful. That was powerful to me.
Okay, excellent. Yes, sir. And thank everyone once again who was watching the People's Podcast. And when you came in, when did you first hear the teachings of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that made you want to join?
Well, I first heard the teaching. It's a funny story. I was in the Marine Corps, and it was during Desert Storm. And there was a brother I'll never forget, the brother who was in the Marine Corps as well. His name was Brother Fish. This is what we called him. We never called him by his rank or anything. We called him Brother Fish, you know. And I never thought about it at that time. Why we call him Brother Fish instead of Corporal, you know?
Yes, sir.
Brother Fish, we would sit in the barracks, you know, the Marines after we got off duty, and some would drink. I wasn't a drinker, but we, you know, we just all hung together. And Brother Fish, every time we there, he would come in with some knowledge and some papers or information, you know. So Brother Fish was that man. And he used to tell me different things, and I was in a certain unit, and we would go do things. He would say, let me show you what y'all did, and bring me this information. And why y'all hit these black cities, man? You know, he was dropping knowledge on us, brother. And then when we got ready to go off to Desert Storm, Brother Fish didn't go. You know, while everyone else who didn't want to go was going to the brig, Brother Fish sat there at headquarters. And he explained, and he was working with the general and said, you know, those are my brothers. I didn't understand and comprehend at that time, you know, but then I wanted to know what Brother Fish knew. And that's how I started. Man, what does he know? You know, what does he know? I need to know what he knows. And that's how it started. That's what sparked me. Of course, I read the book Malcolm X, but Brother Fish was that fisherman, you know, that brought me to wanting to know more.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. And when you came in, who trained you? What was the climate like when you first came in?
Wow. When I first came in, actually, it was right during the Million Man March in '95, preparing up for the Million Man March. And I was in St. Louis. And of course, Brother Fish had already planted the seed. So I was already getting the final calls and, you know, and all that. And one of my brothers, Rodriguez Muhammad, who was a fighter, and Lavelle and Terrell Finger twins, you know, they were boxers in the nation as well. So they were still pumping me up full of this knowledge. When you gonna come on? When you gonna stand? When you gonna take your pledge, you know?
Yes, sir.
And I never forget, it was about 3 months preparing for the Million Man March. And they were down at the Ark in St. Louis. And
Yes,
FYI, the brothers, that, you know, I knew most of them already. And they were giving out pledge cards right there on the spot. And that's when I got my first pledge card, stood up, you know. Remember Stu Commander John, you know, that was in St. Louis, you know, and then I made a transition. At that time, I was still boxing, and Rodriguez and the twins, they were boxing as well. And so I was an amateur and constantly traveling. I was trying to get to the Olympics in '96 that happened in Atlanta.
Yes,
so
sir. Yes, sir.
I came in '95 trying to get to the Olympics in '96. And then started my training after I didn't make the team, you know, but I did fight in the trials, and my big brother, I love him to this day, Nate Jones, he became the Olympic heavyweight Olympian for that year down in, and so I love him. I stay in touch with him. You know, that was the team with Floyd, Fernando Vargas. I mean,
Yes,
that
sir.
team,
Yes, sir.
that team was loaded, brother, you know. And so I started my training in St. Louis and Rockford, Illinois.
Okay, great, wonderful. Yes, sir. Now, you spoke of that you've met a lot of celebrities. What would be your favorite celebrity encounter that you've had?
Wow, that's kind of, I've met so many, and I look at them all as like just brothers and sisters. I don't know if I could say I have a favorite. You know, like I said, the one that stands out most to me is the Honorable Minister Louis Fairclough. You know, but I've sat with many who would, that's hard, brother.
Yes, sir.
Can I not say I have a favorite?
Yes, sir. Can you just give us a story of one? You don't have to be a favorite there.
Well, I tell you what, one of the ones right now today, out of everybody I've met, one that right now today, he's a boxer. And I love him like a brother, and that's Terrence Crawford. You know, we've been in camp with Terrence quite a bit. We've talked, we've been behind scenes. I remember one time we was at a fight, and Terrence was giving everybody pictures, and I was like, man, what's happened to my pictures? You ain't never gave me a picture. And he said, that's because we always together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I love Terrence. He, right now, if I had to choose someone that stands out, it would be Terrence.
Okay, great, wonderful, wonderful. And thank everybody who's continued to watch the People's Podcast. I have a few more questions for you, Brother Murid, but before we get going, I have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast this month. I want to make sure that I thank everyone because I have people from some people text me right now about questions for you. Yes, sir. I see your questions, and we're coming right back to our brother Murid. If you would like to be a sponsor or donor, please cash app the People's Podcast. It is because of you that we keep going. Thank you very much, all the sponsors and donors. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera and drone. He does television and film editing. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me, children's book and coloring book, both of which are on Amazon. Thank you all very much. Make sure you all go out and get those. My sister Naima, Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually. We love our tiny dancers. And also, Nations Auto Sales, LLC, out of St. Louis, Missouri. We thank our brother who ships cars and trucks to people all across the country. Our brother out of Dallas, Texas, Engineers of Tomorrow, LLC. He teaches it's a STEM preschool. That's Brother Minister Shaheed. Thank you very much, sir, for your raising these king, queens, and young gods up out of Dallas, Texas. MTS Car Bros, any make, any model, any year, 30 to 50% off. They'll ship cars and trucks to you from the Los Angeles area. Thank you very much. Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He'll ship bow ties to you all across the country. We're coming back right back to our brother Murid. Hip Hop Detox, they have a holistic approach to teaching self-esteem through music and the arts and culture in middle schools, high schools all across the country. Thank you, Hip Hop Detox. Queen is I, Poetry and Apparel, out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's make sure we support our sister, Latasha. Queen is I, Poetry and Apparel. CBD Moms Company is a CBD infused self-care line. Shout out to our sister Kanika Yakub. Make sure we reach out to her for any of our needs. CBD Mom Corporated. Okay. My Letter A book by Sister Landra L. Muhammad is a children's book. My Letter A book by Sister Landra L. Muhammad. Make sure to reach out to her and get her book. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs in here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 Disinfecting Cleaning Services in Chicago, Illinois. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, which is on Amazon as well. Thank you all for your continued sponsorships and donors. And if you all have any guest suggestions, please reach out to me on social media for everything that you have done as well. Boom, excellent. Brother Murid, Deshaun Six Shot McDaniel says he wants to meet Terrence Crawford one day. And exactly, thank you very much for your comments, sir, and thank everybody for continuing to watch. How did the Million Man March personally impact you, sir?
Wow, the Million Man March, how did it impact anybody, everybody that was there? You know, it changed my life, brother, because I'll tell you what, you and I both know of how brothers have been fighting amongst each other and not taking care of their women and talking bad about women and for many years. And prior to that, you know, I was never one to talk bad about women, so it upset me when I would hear my friends talking about it, you know. But then to hear Minister Fairclough bring us together and see so many Black men in one place at the same time, I had never ever witnessed, or even, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even think that many Black men existed in America. You know, so it changed my life to a point where it just made me feel like, okay, I'm at home. This is what I've been looking for all my life, you know. So it changed me, and I am so thankful for it. I am so thankful to Allah and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because that man, he has never lied to us, and he's been a walking example to us of what a Black man should be and could be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Beautiful. Absolutely. So many people who are texting me are reaching out about what are some of your favorite fight memories as far as the fighters that inspired you in actual fights? Like, what are some of your favorite fights that you enjoy watching?
Some of my favorite fights, one of my favorite fights, obviously, is Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, That is a fight that I've studied. Those 3 fights are fights that I've studied constantly and constantly. There was so much will in Muhammad Ali. There was so much him knowing who he was and what he was capable of. And then you look at Joe Frazier and where he came from, and I began to understand, being on this side, the marketing of the fight too, how they came together. And if it wouldn't be a Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, if it wasn't for the both of them.
That's right.
So those 3 fights stand out so much to me. Then if I move on, I look at Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward's fight.
Okay.
Their trilogy, and they weren't even world champions. But what that showed me, brother, is what we could do, not even being world champions, what we could do to give the people what they want. You didn't have to be world champions if you give the people what they want and do it the right way. So I love that trilogy based on the action it brought and what it said that we could do and what we should be trying to do today. I looked at Mike Tyson. I love Mike Tyson.
Yes, sir. So do I.
I love Mike Tyson. And I love him because that was a style that I fought on, being a short heavyweight. I say short. I'm 5'11" and a half, about 6 foot, but still, that's short for heavyweights. You look at heavyweights today, 6'6", 6'7". I've always been the smaller guy, and that I loved that actually. It helped me prove a point. I don't care who you are. Yes, but I love Mike Tyson for that, and you look at the path that Mike went down, I understood that. And then you look at where he is today. You can't do nothing but thank Allah for that, So I love Mike for that. And of course, Terrence Crawford, I love what Terrence is doing. I've been in training camp and watched him. I've been able to see him train and see his mind. One thing that a lot of people don't understand about Terrence is his intelligence. That young man has so much ring IQ, and he can figure you out, and he has so many tools. It's such a beautiful thing to watch him, So there's so, and I love Earl Spence too. Almost,
yes,
I love Earl, man. Earl got a tenacity about him, man, and the skill set. I just love, and I love our brothers. I'm just going to be honest with you, but I love to see our people do well.
Yes, yes, sir. Great. And thank you all for your comments and questions about that. I was conflicted rewatching, I think that's before my time, but rewatching the Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier trilogy, which I've seen so many times on YouTube, because I like Joe Frazier. So of course, Muhammad Ali got the nation, so it's like I gotta support you for that. But Joe Frazier, bro, Smoking Joe, bro, I like his fighting style. I like the shoulders. I like all that. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
No joke. I always told people that, Mike Tyson was a modern era of Joe Frazier.
I agree.
Yes, Mike had more speed. He had, more combinations. But if you look at the foundation of it, it was Joe Frazier.
I agree. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Holding it down. And you think you short at 5'11", 6 feet for heavyweight, when then 5'6", come on now. Yes, sir. Now we're aware that, and as we're taught that, beside every strong man, great man, there's a great woman. So how important has your wife been to you and your family, and what advice would you give to future husbands?
Oh, wow, brother. What can't I say about that queen? Sister Raven, who's MGT also, Sister Raven has been with me and supported me like no other. And she's taking care of the children. And my wife knows like my top priorities. Your wife knows. The minister is, so if don't nobody know, your wife know.
Yes, sir.
And she knows. And I'm constantly, if I decide I'm going, if I do something that might go astray, that I think, oh, am I slipping? I can go to my wife and say, did I do something wrong? Am I going off course? Am I living against what I'm teaching and telling everybody else? She can tell me, no, brother, or yes, you shouldn't do that. Or she'll say, we have little clues with each other, brother, to help us get straightened out. If I'm going astray a little bit, she'll say, would the minister be pleased? I say that. What would Mother Khadijah think?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know,
Mm,
and we
mm.
love that in each other, you know, and it helps us to better ourselves. So I would say, look, it is an honest and truthful fact that half for your faith is with your spouse, right?
Mm.
Marriage is half of faith, right?
Yes, sir.
Because my mother once told me, brother, she said, son, I've looked at you and you are a good man. And
Mm.
she said, I know you don't eat meat. She said, but look at it this way. She said, you're like a grade A burger. There can be no better quality of beef. That's
Mm.
you. She
Mm.
said, but to make you complete, you need grade A condom.
Beautiful. Yes, sir.
And my mother gave me that, brother. And I took a long time to wait and make sure that I was choosing the right wife. I met my wife in college. We were both studying medicine at the time, you know, and she was actually my lab partner in medical school.
Mm.
And the sister came to me and she asked me a question and she said, may I use your study guide? Because I believe we were studying the bones. And she sat with me and she said, you know what? You're different. And I said, different? She said, she don't like me to tell this, but I'm gonna tell it.
Yes, sir.
She called me weird, brother.
Mm.
And I looked at her, I said, what do you mean weird? She said, don't think it's a bad thing. She said, but you don't find many of our Black men, if they're not Africans or foreigners, in the science classes in school.
That's right.
And she told me that. And I said, wow. I said, okay, I can take that. I can take that. And then when I began to go over the numbers of the actual facts and the speed of light, which were in our books, and the speed of sound and the cells and how they were broken down, she looked at me and she was like, you should be teaching the class. I was like, no. I said, I've already been taught. I'm just reading off numbers in this book that was already given to us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You teaching?
Right?
Yes, sir.
So then she started telling me, and we found out this later after we got married. She started telling me, and she's from Atlanta, by the way, brother.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
she started telling me things her mother told her growing up about, you know, we're in medical class, and she started telling me about the recessive gene and the dominant gene that her mother taught her. And we found out after we got married, her aunt told her, oh, your mother used to follow the minister.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
See what I'm saying?
Praise be
So
to God.
it
Yes,
was like
sir.
we were drawn together and it was meant to be. So I'm so thankful to Allah for my wife. I am so thankful for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for teaching me. And, you know, I studied that courtship manual.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, and I had made mistakes as we all had, but I had decided I was going to do it the right way and make sure I do it the right way. And I'm so thankful that I did that.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful. What advice would you give to future fathers, sir?
Future fathers, you know what, brother, I do with my children. I look at myself because that is myself, you
Yes, sir.
know, and I think of try to think back of my childhood and how I was and how I would have wanted to be addressed, how I would have
Mm.
wanted to be corrected, and how I wanted to have fun. So I look at that and I try to make sure that they're children, but at the same time be their guide, you
Mm.
know.
Mm.
Try to be disciplined when I'm supposed to and be loving when I'm not, when I'm supposed to. A lot of times with my son, I got a man, brother, let me tell you, my little son, little Murid, if that isn't
Yes,
the
sir.
walking version of myself, you know. So
Mm.
I try to show him that, you know, your dad can love you and your dad can be strong at the same time. I'm going to
Yes,
encourage
sir.
you,
Yes,
and
sir.
there's nothing that you can't do. You know, so I try to teach him the physical as well as the mental and the intelligence. So I'm thankful, brother, because they are learning experience for me. You know,
Beautiful. Praise be
so
to Allah.
every brother, I was, man, cherish your seed, spend the time you can with your seed, and teach your seed to carry on.
Mm. Mm. Beautiful. Yes, sir. Now, I as a big fan of boxing and just MMA. I just like fighting. but especially boxing, one of my favorite things to watch is the introduction as far as the
Mm.
ring music and theme music and things of that nature. Do you ever suggest music or how people come out, your fighters come out, or do you leave that up to them?
We sit down and we discuss it together.
Mm.
You know, one of the things that they know I'm not with, you, especially being, you know, people are looking at, oh, this is Brother Murid doing this thing. You know, we can't be vulgar and stuff around.
Yes, sir.
But other than that, you know, we sit down and we work out together. You know, how do you feel about yourself, especially during training camp? You know, because fighters go through emotional things where they're getting ready to fight. You know, so I suggest, what do you feel about yourself? What do you think about this fight? What do you see yourself doing? You know, and that's how we choose the music. You know, we choose the music. Now, one of the biggest walkout, people love the way Brother Dorn has walked out. You know, I don't know
Yes,
if you
sir.
ever seen the clip of him being walked out, but he's
Yes, sir.
usually so right. Brother Dorn is so short, brother. He's about 5'3", 5'3 and a half. But
Okay, okay.
the FOI surrounds him when he's
Mm,
walking out. So they don't
mm.
even see him when he's walking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All they see is the smoke, and they hear his music like the thunder and lightning, because his ring name is the Storm. So they see the
Okay,
smoke and the
okay.
thunder and lightning, and they see the FOI walking. And in between, in the midst of them, is little Brother Dorn, and his head is covered, you know. And then it's like a C, the FOI open up, then you see little Brother Dorn walking. And that's, I'm gonna be honest, out of all the walkouts, I love his more than anybody's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Beautiful. Okay, wonderful. Now I have to do some research on his. And for those who are watching, how can we view this on YouTube? What do we type in to see his introduction and see some of his fights?
I believe just put in Dorn the Storm Boo, and I believe some of his walkouts are on there. You know, and there's a couple of pictures that, you know, that I don't know if you can see them, but they're probably on my page or his fan page. And you can see how he's walked out, and you see the FOI surrounding him and his hood down. You can't see his face enough.
Yes, sir. I like that. I like that. And what do you do for fun, Brother Murid?
Oh, brother, what don't I do? My biggest fun is with my children. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The
Yes, sir.
time I can spend with them, man, that is so fun to me. Um, I travel a lot, so you know I can't say that's fun, but I do love seeing the world. But seeing my children, my family, you know, my wife, my father, my mother, you know, sisters, brother, and especially the brothers and sisters in the nation, man, that is so much fun. It brings me so much joy and happiness. It's the best thing that I can even think of.
Wonderful, sir. And
Besides fishing, I got to do that too. I love going out catching some fish, brother.
okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, how has Islam influenced the fight game as a whole? Like, do you ever run into other people and just like, oh, I didn't know you was a nation, or I know you was under the teeth,
So
or heard?
many, there's so many brothers and sisters in fighting in that are that study Islam, and they follow the minister, and then as well as, you know, in the music industry and in the all through the sporting, it has grown so much, but it's our people aren't allowed to express it. You know, our people aren't allowed to express it because then we're looked down upon. I have many brother that looked at me and couldn't believe I was putting the nation ahead of, you know, in front. I was letting the world know who we were and who we are. And I wasn't going to back down from it. Now, it has made some doors close on us, but I don't care because Allah's got us. You know, those doors that are closed will one day be our doors.
Yes, sir. Big facts. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
sir.
Wonderful. What advice would you give to the next generation coming up as far as keeping the faith, you know, in order to, you know, stay 10 toes down? Because for you to sustain over all these years, what advice would you give to them?
You know what, brother? The one thing advice I would give, never turn on your foundation. Never. I've been at a table where millions of dollars were put in front of me for me to turn.
Mm.
And that you can't buy me. And for anybody coming up, you are nobody without your foundation. You know, so keep your toes locked on your foundation. As we say in boxing, know your fundamentals. You know, if you know your fundamentals, if you look at Bernard Hopkins, I love Bernard Hopkins.
Yes, sir.
Bernard
Yes, sir.
Hopkins lasted so long because he stuck with his fundamentals.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
his
Yes, sir.
speed and everything was diminishing like it did with our brother Roy. I love Roy.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Roy's speed, and you know, at some point in time in life, by the time he don't lose,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
you know what I'm saying? And so where that speed and stuff was diminishing, Bernard Hopkins' fundamentals carried him further than anybody. So I would tell anybody coming up that no matter what it is you do, stick with your fundamentals and never lose that foundation.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. What type of music do you like to listen to, sir?
Oh, I'm everywhere, brother. It's time. It's times I'm listening to some beautiful jazz. It's times I'm listening to classic, and then I got my old school R&B. And when we're in training, we're in the gym, I got my hip hop. So I'm everywhere, bro. You know,
Yes,
I'm riding in the car, you know, just relaxing. I got some classical music on, or some jazz, or I might have some old R&B on. But when we in the gym, you know, I got that hip hop banging, getting us fight ready.
yes, sir. And if there's somebody, there's a television show I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it's called Cobra Kai, and it's based off of it's the you know, Karate Kid's reboot,
Yes, sir.
and they're talking about young children using martial arts to fight back against bullies and things of that nature. If there's
Yeah.
someone who's watching because you were a fighter before you became who you are now, first you started off as a fighter. What advice would you give to the young people as a style of boxing or somebody they should look at to study how to defend themselves? Who would you give them examples?
You know what? I love Grandmaster Anthony. I love what he teaches, what he does. Brother, I pick up anything I can. You know, I study the martial arts too. And as a matter of fact, in the training of boxing, I do incorporate some little things in our boxing with, you know, the martial arts. If we take it into the ring, you know, and a lot of times people are wondering why Brother Dorn is hurting certain people. And I don't like to brag on this, but I'll state a fact. A lot of young men that he fought coming up in the pros, their careers ended, you know. And the reason that careers ended is because things that I was teaching him, now I don't want this to get out too much because he might not get some fights. But damage, so make sure he wins the fight, you know, and how to do it and how to turn your opponent. There are certain things, brother. I keep martial arts with me at all times.
Yes,
You
sir.
know,
Yes,
so
sir.
I love Grandmaster Anthony and Dr. Moses Powell, brother. Man, what else can I say? What else can I say about those two?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Excellent. Will you ever write a book on your personal life?
You know, there was a book that was supposed to be started about my life last year. And then COVID came, you know, happened, everything happened on the scene, so it was put on the back burner. And to be honest with you, I didn't think it was time because I feel like I have so much more to do. I don't think it's time for a book to be done about me yet.
Okay, yes, sir. Great. And thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I have one more question for you, sir. What would you like your legacy to be? Are you there, brother?
I'm here. Slow. Okay, there you are.
Yes, sir.
You still there, brother?
Yes, sir. I'm right here with you. I'm right here with you. What would you like your legacy to be, sir?
Okay. Yes, sir. You know, I pray that my legacy is that I stood for doing what's right. Period. I stood for doing what's right. That I've always wanted to help. You know, the minister in 2000, our Million Family March gave us our top 3 priorities. There was God, family, and nation or community. And that is my top 3 priorities in life. And I pray that when this time is over, that is what is known and what I stood for.
Excellent. And thank everyone for watching. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, sir. You've inspired us. You've given us some information. And this has been an extreme honor. I want everybody to stay tuned. We have 2 more interviews coming up today. Please continue to subscribe to the YouTube channel of the People's Podcast. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam. Thank you, beloved.
Thank you, sir.